Hello and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Taylor Hollander.
In a January 2016 study, the Pew Research Center found that 51% of adults said they're less likely to vote for a presidential candidate that does not believe in God.
South Carolina was Hillary Clinton's third victory over Bernie Sanders. This landslide win gives her the momentum she needs going into Super Tuesday.
The conversation jumped from candidate to candidate, but it was Donald Trump whose name controlled the conversation and how he became such a dominant force in the Republican race for president. After losing South Carolina 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton won and won big on Saturday night. Clinton walked away with 74% of the vote and won the minority vote by a landslide, a vote she had worked hard for while campaigning in South Carolina.
This campaign and our victory is for the entrepreneur who told me more dreams die in the parking lots of banks than anywhere else. And that's especially true for women and people of color.
Clinton's direct attitude is what gets her supporters so excited to go out and vote for her.
Not a lot of vague answers. It's not a if I or when. She has an action plan.
I think that she's the one who already acts the most like a president.
She used her victory speech as an opportunity to express her desire to make America united again.
Despite what you hear, we don't need to make America great again. America has never stopped being great. But we do need to make America whole again.
South Carolina was Hillary Clinton's third victory over Bernie Sanders. This landslide win gives her the momentum she needs going into Super Tuesday.
We've now gone through 4 early states, and I want to congratulate Senator Sanders on running a great race. And tomorrow, this campaign goes national.
Clinton and Sanders will be fighting for the 865 Democratic delegates up for grabs on Super Tuesday. This could be the day that Clinton gives herself a large delegate lead, making it difficult for Sanders to catch up in the Democratic race for the White House. Taylor Hollander, Carolina News.
In South Carolina, Senator Kevin Bryant is co-sponsoring a bill that will address how the state will handle refugees, as well as putting civil liabilities on the refugees' sponsors. Opposition has spent the past week filibustering the bill, but in light of the massacre in Brussels, Bryant says the Senate is motivated to get the bill passed now.
ISIS has proven that terrorists will infiltrate the refugee programs. They've done it in Europe. They've done it in other states, and we don't want an attack on South Carolinians.
Bryant says the attacks and disturbing images coming out of Brussels are forcing the state Senate to sit down and work through this bill to ensure a greater sense of security in South Carolina.
But now I feel like there's an even stronger commitment to stay, work through any amendments that any member may offer, let everyone have a say, whether they're for the bill or against the bill. But I'm committed, and I believe I have support with my colleagues to not adjourn until this bill passes.
As of now, only 2 Syrian refugees have settled into Richland County with the help of the Lutheran Services Carolina Charity, a group that helps refugees settle in when they first arrive in South Carolina. The group has helped nearly 50 refugees from different countries settle into the state and does not agree with the limitations that the bill would put on their charity.
It is an unfair and, in some sense, unconstitutional.
That's it. The Senate met at 2 p.m. today to discuss the refugee bill. Bryant predicts that with the amendments made, the bill will pass through the Senate this evening and will move on to be discussed in the House tomorrow. Back to you in the studio. Robert Landry describes his daughter Sierra as beautiful and aspiring with her whole life ahead of her. The Lancaster, South Carolina native's life was cut short on December 30th, 2013, when she was fatally shot by her abusive ex-boyfriend. The Center for Disease Control reported that among high school students who dated, 21% of females and 10% of males experienced physical and/or sexual dating violence. The Landry family believes that with an order of protection, Sierra would still be with them today. Senator Larry Martin explained that an order of protection is different than a restraining order.
It requires a due process hearing where both parties have the opportunity to present evidence as to whether or not the order of protection should be granted. Under our domestic violence law, you can lose your gun rights with an order of protection. Now, a restraining order, on the other hand, a party can seek a restraining order and not even have the other party present.
But they can be harder to obtain, especially for minors.
Usually juveniles are handled in family court. That creates a set of problems, you know, applying the same adult standards and rules and orders to juveniles who ordinarily wouldn't be in magistrate's court or in circuit court.
Sierra's Law is a bill currently in the House aimed to prevent teen dating violence in South Carolina, as well as protect those who have already become a victim of this growing problem.
Under Sierra's Law, people under 18 will be able to get an order of protection without adult consent, and those under 16 can get one with adult consent. Abusers with a history of domestic violence will be placed on public record. Anyone charged with teen dating violence will not be eligible for pretrial intervention. And dating violence awareness will be included as a part of the sexual education program schools offer. Rebecca Williams-Agee of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence says schools are now starting to teach what healthy relationships look like from a young age, so teenagers know if something is wrong when they start dating.
That's looking at healthy relationships, that's looking at boundary setting, that's looking at communication, all those types of things before they ever get into any type of intimate relationship. And the reality is that we know the earlier you start and the more often they hear it, the more likely they are to actually believe it, right?
Landry says he will never be the same because of his daughter's death, so he has dedicated his life to saving lives. He says if he can save just one life and save other parents the pain he has experienced, that will make this all worthwhile. Taylor Hollander, Carolina News.
South Carolina's women's basketball team will open their NCAA tournament play tonight against Jacksonville at the Colonial Life Arena. The Lady Gamecocks are coming off 3 strong games in the SEC tournament, ultimately beating Mississippi State 66-52 to win their second straight SEC championship. Senior guard Tiffany Mitchell touched on what the momentum from the SEC tournament will mean to the team in the coming games.
Good basketball looks like because we've done it, so now we just need to channel all of that energy into this tournament.
Dawn Staley noted how important the fans have been throughout the season, and their role is not going to change in the NCAA tournament.
I know our fans are excited that we get to host the first and second round, so hopefully they will be some factors in us surviving and advancing, especially on Friday.
Tip-off for the Lady Gamecocks is at 7:30 and tickets are still available. The men's basketball team beat High Point University in the first round of the National Invitation Tournament on Tuesday night with a dominating score of 88-66. The number one seeded Gamecocks will take on Georgia Tech Monday night at the Colonial Life Arena. The Gamecocks will be playing without 5 players who were suspended before Tuesday's game. 2 of the 5 players were arrested Thursday morning in connection with properties being damaged by a BB gun. Head coach Frank Martin said they are aware of the allegations against Eric Cobb and Jamal Gregory, and that the team has no more comments at this time due to it being a legal matter. We reached out to the Columbia Police Department, but our calls were not returned. Gamecock baseball will open up their SEC play this weekend in a 3-game series against Arkansas at Founders Park. The team is coming off 2 midweek wins. The Gamecocks defeated USC Upstate 12-6 on Tuesday night, then went on to defeat Davidson 15-2 on Wednesday night. The first pitch of Friday's series opener between the number 12 Gamecocks and number 13 Razorbacks is set for 7:30 p.m. Saturday's matchup will begin at 4 p.m. and Sunday's game will start at 1:30. University of South Carolina Swimming and Diving is competing in the NCAA Swimming and Diving Championships this week. Gamecock divers Julia Vincent and Lauren Lemondola earned All-American recognition in the 1-meter diving event on Thursday. Vincent qualified for the championship finals of the 1-meter, and she finished 4th overall. Lamondola qualified for the consolation round, finishing 15th. South Carolina was one of 3 schools to have 2 divers finish as All-Americans on Thursday. The Gamecocks scored 17 points during the second day of the NCAA championship, and the team now sits in 21st place through 7 events. Gamecock football took the field for their second spring practice Thursday afternoon. Senior right guard Mason Zandy said the team worked hard in the offseason to be able to play at Coach Muschamp's pace, which he expects will give the offense an edge over their opponents.
You know, because D linemen like to rotate, and you know, you get into a 10-play drive, and then the DN checks out and get a fresh legs in there. Well, with the tempo that we're running, you're not gonna be able to do that.
Well, I think they're knowledgeable. They've got experience. They're tough. I think to play up front, you've got to have a tough group. But we've got athleticism on the edges to handle, you know, the drop back pass protection stuff. But I like our toughness.
It is early in the season, but it will be exciting to see where the new coaching staff takes the Gamecocks in the fall. Fans will be able to get a preview of what Gamecock football has been working on at the spring game on April 9th. March Madness continues tonight with the final 16 games of the first round. 32 teams are looking to advance, and like any other tournament, there are bound to be some upsets. One noticeable upset is number 12 Yale's victory over number 5 Baylor last night. After the first 16 games, only 0.1% of brackets on ESPN.com are still perfect. That equals 14,525 brackets.